everybody, welcome to another trip report reading. Today we are taking a look at Datura, specifically a Datura trip someone decided to combine with alcohol, so I'm sure this is going to be great. I haven't looked at it yet, but I scrolled down and just saw the word elephant, and I was like, yeah, we're going to do this one, okay. The Jail Cell Takeover, a Datura and alcohol trip report by Solstice. Uploaded to arrowwood.org on August 11th, 2025. Yes, people have still been doing this shit in 2025, although there's only been like a dozen trip reports on this substance on this site in the past like 3 years, so that's probably a good sign. I was with a friend drinking the tall can we had managed to come with enough for, pushing a shopping cart because I was too lazy to carry my bags. He pulls out a pill bottle, says, "Hey, my friend gave me these seeds, says they'll make you trip out." I was like, fuck yeah. There's about 80 seeds in the pill bottle. We both took half. About 40 seeds each. We were on our way to the shelter. I had no idea what I was in for. I couldn't eat when I got to the shelter, and I was too drunk and dreamy to play chess, so I just laid down. Next thing you know, I'm up again and talking to my friend. Apparently I was annoying, as there was actually no one there, as I realized when they woke me up. This happened about 3 more times because they said, fuck it, if you fall back asleep, we're calling the cops. You know, I tried to tell them I was high on acid because I had no other experiences or information to compare it to. I was 100% convinced that it was illegal to arrest someone high on acid because of the possible effects of their consciousness. I was also convinced that they were supposed to put me in a padded room where I would be visited by nurses that would look like angels, lol. Instead, I ended up in a jail cell. Of course, that wasn't the end of the trip. From what I remember, there was an elephant on the toilet. He was purple and friendly in nature. I have now come to recognize him as the Hindu deity Ganesh, who you're supposed to worship before doing any worldly, spiritual, or religious activity. He did just that. As I was in a jail cell, so you can only imagine what kind of things I saw. There were people walking through the walls, grudge girls, there was terrorists taking over the jail. They seemed to have killed everyone else. The guards were dead. The new guards were their wives, whose heads were covered in saris. I tried my best with broken sign language and broken Japanese to communicate to them that I would take them to a safe place through the garbage chute. I would give them a better life. It was futile. They did, however, remove their saris to show their disfigured, obviously tortured faces. The terrorists had my friends, who had been shot multiple times but apparently didn't die, lol, who were tasked with carrying the garbage bags of presumably the dead cops and the people who weren't able to survive. There was blood everywhere. It isn't for the faint of heart. The visions were intense, and basically speaking, I'm pretty sure that anything is now possible and that I'm ready for anything. I mean, that was pretty cool. I had, of course, the knowledge of psychedelics to know that it couldn't be real. It couldn't be real, but it was pretty real. Who knows? There is a theory called the Omniverse, in which if you imagine a universe, it exists, so there are billions and billions of universes. There were people from my experiences in the city where I was living who were there. I wonder now if their consciousness and mine were linked, because the next day I was halfway to going and rummaging through the garbage bins of the jail. The friends who had been there in the spirit realm said they knew about the garbage bag, so I have to wonder. Of course, they were all on drugs IRL and possibly schizophrenic, but perhaps that's just another door. I also went the next day to talk to the commanding officer-in-chief to explain the hazards of putting someone in a jail cell. Continuing on now, and going with the possibility at this point that it was possibly real, I had decided I had to save the day. There was a woman who was dressed like Peter Pan. She carried a bow and arrow. I used the bow and arrow to try and trip the lasers, which would prevent me from escaping once I had somehow managed to break down the door. I tried to kick that door so many times. I would love to be given a tape of my time spent in that tiny little jail cell because I'm sure it would be remarkable. I decided to sit down and talk to the elephant, who was great at conversing, or at least to listening to me babble trying to entertain myself, because he seemed to understand the situation better than I did. There was no choice at the end of it. It was that or allow my crazy brain to imagine more horrible things through the crack in the jail cell door, or talk to the elephant. I remember at the end of the trip, they had brought in guillotine doors, meaning that my head was going to get chopped, so I assumed that was probably a smart move. The positive things were that my friend's head was also on top of the toilet. It was like a fishbowl. I really wish they had put me into a hospital so I could channel the consciousness of angels. I would do it again. What the fuck? Okay. Holy shit, what a one to choose. Okay. Wow. It's not even so much the report that has me laughing, it's this person's fucking mindset. Like, halfway through, okay. So, toward the end there, they start talking about the Omniverse, which, like, hopefully I don't need to explain to you that that's fucking insane. The idea that, like, every time you imagine anything, it exists. Like, if I imagine myself standing on Mars and then teleporting back to Earth, but, like, I was on Mars for, like, 1 second, does that mean that happened? I don't fucking think so. I mean, it happened in my brain, in my imagination, but I wasn't really there. Or maybe they're trying to say that, like, not that you imagining a universe causes it to exist, but that, like, anything you can think of does exist already. Which technically isn't as crazy, although I imagine impossible things probably don't exist. I don't know. But even that doesn't really make much sense. But then, you know, they go and keep talking about the elephant and shit, so I'm thinking to myself, you know, okay, maybe this was written, like, they know they were delusional back then when they were thinking about the Omniverse and stuff, and, you know, and at the end of the report, they'll return to sanity, you know, at some point, and then the closest thing we get to sanity is the one line at the end where they don't appear to be tripping anymore, and it's just, I would do it again. Like, were they still tripping when they wrote that? Holy fuck. Dude, I don't... Okay, like, if they actually believe in the Omniverse thing, if that's even the correct interpretation of it, I never heard of this. I've heard of the concept, I've never heard it called that, I don't know. But, like, if you believe in that, then, like, literally any time anyone imagined hell, like, a new hell exists, like, how the fuck could you live with the belief that that's how that worked? Like, you would have to live your entire life trying not to think of the worst possible things, and anytime you did, you'd be like, fuck, I just created that in a whole new universe that exists now because I thought it. God damn it. Like, what? Like, usually when people believe delusional shit, it's because it's, like, reassuring to them in some way. Well, you know, people believe crazy stuff for a number of different reasons. But when it comes to, like, existential, spiritual stuff, people tend to believe in what makes them comfortable. In my opinion. I mean, I've seen people who, like, started out being Christian, then they kind of stopped being Christian because they realize there's a lot of fucked up stuff about that religion, but they kind of keep believing in, like, you know, like, a lot of the actual spiritual stuff, like the afterlife, souls, and all that stuff. Because these kinds of beliefs are comforting to people. Like, I understand how even if it doesn't really make sense logically, people would naturally gravitate toward believing those kinds of things. This, on the other hand, I don't know why the fuck, like, you are just crazy if you believe in the Omniverse. You are just, like, there is no incentive for you to believe in this. No one is giving you any money to believe in the Omniverse, bro. Okay, you don't have to do that. You ain't getting any tax breaks for this shit. Anyway, what else is there to say? Holy fuck, don't do Datura is probably the obvious one. I don't think I need to tell you that after. Like, when this kind of person said, literally, every single goddamn Datura trip report I have ever read, the person has said, I'm never doing that shit again. Like, 99% of the ones. This is one of the only ones I've... Okay, it's not literally everyone. I hate abusing that word. I try not to, okay? I'm trying to keep it how it's meant to be. What was I saying? Did I even say the word literally? Oh fuck, I really killed that bowl. Alright, I'm decohering. That will be the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Wait, okay, I clicked record again, because I remember now what I was saying at the end there. Yeah, like, this is one of the only people I've ever seen say I would do Datura again. And, they're this person. So that should probably tell you everything you need to know. Okay, have fun not doing Datura. Goodbye.